immigration. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm guest host Shelley Wade. We'll also talk with U.S. Representative Christian Menefee, who will discuss the upcoming runoff election with U.S. Representative Al Green for the District 18 seat.
Plus, we'll also hear my conversation with Eurovision commentator, the BBC's William Lee Adams, with an inside peek into some of this year's contestants.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Passengers from a cruise ship struck by a deadly hantavirus outbreak that killed 3 people are returning to their home countries on military and government planes escorted by staffers in hazmat gear. France confirms a woman tested positive and her health has gotten worse. 18 Americans from the ship returned to the U.S. early this morning. The majority are quarantined at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. 2 patients were sent to Atlanta's Emory University. One of those patients tested positive but is not showing symptoms. The other has tested negative but is showing mild symptoms. The Assistant Secretary for Health, Admiral Brian Christine, says the risk to the general public remains low.
The Andes variant of this virus does not spread easily, and it requires prolonged close contact with someone who is already symptomatic. Even so, we have taken this situation very seriously from the very start.
The outbreak has renewed concerns about the U.S.'s containment capabilities in light of sweeping government DOGE cuts since President Trump returned to office. The president leaves tomorrow for a state visit to China. NPR's Tamara Keith reports the Iran war looms large over the trip.
In March, President Trump postponed his trip to China because of the war. The trip is back on, but the war isn't over. Instead, it's in an unsteady and uncertain holding pattern. Kurt Campbell at the Asia Group says the timing is awkward.
It is remarkable that President Trump is prepared to go to China under these circumstances. But may I also say that it's also deeply unusual that China is prepared to host him.
Iran and China are allies and trading partners. Campbell says the fact that the trip is moving forward is an indication of how important it is to both the U.S. and China to stabilize their relationship. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
The standoff between the U.S. and Iran pushed oil prices higher today. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the price of homes is also rising.
Oil prices rose after President Trump called Iran's latest diplomatic gesture totally unacceptable. AAA says retail gasoline prices in the U.S. now average $4.52 for a gallon of regular. Sales of existing homes rose only slightly in April. The National Association of Realtors says sales were up 0.2% from March and flat compared to April of last year. The average selling price was up less than 1% from a year ago at just under $418,000. First-time buyers accounted for a third of the homes sold last month. Mortgage giant Freddie Mac says the average interest rate on a 30-year home loan is now 6.37%. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. A father and son were injured when they tried to drive in front of an oncoming train Sunday. In this case, it was Amtrak's Sunset Limited from New Orleans, or from Los Angeles, on its way to New Orleans, running at about 60 miles an hour. The engineer reported the car drove around the downed gates into the path of the speeding passenger train. That car was destroyed, the locomotive practically unscathed. Strangely, after the accident, the train's conductor rushed to the vehicle to help and was confronted by 4 alligators who by then had already descended on the wreck. The father and a 12-year-old boy were both hospitalized, with the father in critical condition. No injuries reported on board the train. No reason why the father went around the gates either. Investigations by Precinct 3 constables and the NTSB are underway. May is swarming month for Formosan termites. They show up at night in large packs and are attracted to lights. Wizzy Brown, an entomologist with Texas A&M, she says Formosans are subterranean and don't necessarily want your home as the first option. However, they are known to thrive inside healthy trees.
If you do have them swarming in the yard, it is a good idea to go and look closely at the bark of your trees, because formosans can get into trees and they are able to kind of hollow out the center of the tree.
Brown says the trees become unstable after an infestation. Details on the termites can be found at the Texas A&M AgriLife website. Taking a look at sports, the Astros open up a 4-game visit from Seattle tonight. First pitch is at 7:10 at Daikin Park. And checking your weather, a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon with a high around 82. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 70. And then sunny on Tuesday, high of 83. Right now, mostly cloudy, 74 degrees on the UH campus. Get more news and information. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. Fisher is committed to helping clients stay on track to reach their financial goals and enjoy a comfortable retirement. FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
Hello, hello. Ernie Manouse here with my guest host today, Shelley Wade. Hello,
Hi,
hon.
Ernie. I am so honored to be here with you.
I'm so honored that you would accept our invitation and come in to do this with us. You came in from New York to do this.
I did. Well, I came into New York to hang out with my mom for Mother's Day, and I said, you know what, I should hang out with Ernie as well.
Well, I'm happy you did. Fill in folks a little bit. They probably recognize the name. They probably recognize the voice. Fill them in a little bit about who is Shelley.
Born and raised in Houston, H-Town. And I am a proud graduate of Jack Yates High School. Go Mighty Lions, Crimson and Gold. Also, I studied radio and television at Texas Southern University. By the way, I was in the School of Communications at Jack Yates High School, where I studied radio and TV in high school as well. But I became really serious about radio as a career when I was at Texas Southern University and working at KTSU. And so, this is home for me. And I started my career part-time at Magic 102 back when it was 102 Jams. I was there for about 6 months when the box stole me away. And I was on air for a lot of years at 97.9 The Box. Shout out to all of our listeners who may be listening to us right now, who listened to me all those years ago. And then I left in 2001 and went to New York City to have a radio career there.
And I don't know if we want to bring this up, but boy, you picked the worst time to go to New York City in 2001.
I moved to New York City 2 months before 9/11.
Wow.
It was, the summer before 9/11 was magical. You know, everybody's excited about the Michael biopic right now. That summer, Michael remember when he had those anniversary tour dates at Madison Square Garden?
Yeah.
Like he was there for like a whole week. I was there at that time, and I went to see, his show at Madison Square Garden. It was such an exciting summer, and then 9/11 happened, and it was as traumatic as you can imagine.
Yeah, but the career continued on. It didn't derail you.
You know what, Ernie? The listeners, although they were just getting to know me being their friend on the radio at that time, it really endeared me to the listeners, and we created these really amazing bonds that still exist today because of that. Because no one wanted to listen to music on the radio because what just happened? Planes just ran into the Twin Towers, and people just wanted to talk to other human beings. And so we formed bonds that were really strong and still, are stuck today. Yeah.
And then where'd you go from there? You kept going. It didn't stop
I did.
then.
The radio station I was on at the time replaced me with Ryan Seacrest. Damn Seacrest.
Never heard
of him. As if he needed another job.
Do you think he'll catch on? Do you think people will follow him at all?
And so I left there and went to Southern California for about 8 years, and now I'm back in New York for 4 years.
And today you're back with us.
I am, and I'm always in Houston. Houston is always home. My whole family's here. My godchildren are here. My best friends are here. Home, I'm always here, so I'm never far away.
Well, we're thrilled you're here with us today. Thank you so much
for
agreeing to do
Ernie.
this.
I appreciate it. I'm excited.
I know. So we've got a great show. We're going to be speaking just a little bit to U.S. Representative Christian Menefee, who is in it. Now, you may be thinking, wasn't he just in an election? Yes, he was, and now he's running again. Thanks to the way this whole system has gone. Yeah. So he's going to be here to talk a little bit about his race to hold on to the District 18 seat as it has been redistricted, and he is running against U.S. Representative Al Green. So we'll be talking to Christian in just a little bit. Also, it's Eurovision week, so those of you who think I'm obsessed, yes, I am. So William Lee Adams, the world's #1 reporter on Eurovision from the BBC, will be with us in a little bit. And all those little love bugs that are out there, we're going to learn a little bit more about them. There's a whole lot coming on today's show. But as always, we begin with the headlines of the day. Shelley, take us in.
Well, almost 70% of Houston area residents disapprove of how U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, is handling its job, according to a recent survey. The survey, published this week by the University of Houston's Hobby School of Public Affairs, found that 69.9% of respondents in the greater Houston area disapprove of ICE. The survey also found that nearly a quarter of respondents, 23.5%, reported that they or someone they know has encountered ICE in their neighborhood. ICE has ramped up deportations in the Houston area and across Texas and the United States under President Donald Trump. According to the survey, residents in the city of Houston and Fort Bend County had the highest disapproval in the greater Houston area of the federal agency at 78.8% and 80.1% respectively. Montgomery County had the lowest disapproval rating within the region, but the majority of respondents from the county north of Houston, 52.7%, still disapproved of ICE. According to the survey's authors, they collected responses from more than 1,500 people in April, and the results have an overall margin of error of 3.53%. Now, what are your thoughts on this survey? Call us and let us know, 713-440-8870.
It really kind of fascinates me, this survey, because, and maybe this is just my tunnel vision or the silos that we live in, I don't see a lot of interaction with ICE. Now, I hear from folks that I know who are concerned about, and this was more, I would say, in the fall, maybe the summer last year, about going to like a Walmart or Home Depots or places where they feel unsafe, like they will be not
targeted,
picked up, but harassed, you know, and they don't know where to go and where not to go. But it seems relatively quiet in our area. So it surprises me that we come in at like 69 or 70, basically, % of respondents disapprove of ICE, because I don't know how many of them actually have seen interaction and how much is it what you hear about it on the national news. Because you go a little further and it's only a little under 24% have reported knowing somebody that actually had an interaction.
Well, that's what I was going to say, what they're seeing on what's happening nationally, what happened in Minneapolis, what happened in California. Maybe that's what's driving their opinions.
Yeah, I think probably most definitely. I'm curious, have you encountered ICE or had a situation where you have seen it or someone you know has seen it? And how has it been handled? I don't know if it's our administration in the mayor's office that is handling this in a different way than other cities are. I don't know if it's the media coverage isn't covering it the way, or if just we aren't having the same aggressive interactions. But if you've been on the ground and you've seen something and I'm missing the point here, please call in and let us know what you think. 713-440-8870.
Yeah, we would love to hear your opinions on this, guys.
It really does kind of fascinate me. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, you know.
That people have the opinion.
Yeah.
I honestly, because I know Houston is a hugely blue city, but I would expect Texas to have lower opinion ratings. Percentages. Excuse me. But Houston is a blue city, so
that was part of it.
I can't say that I'm surprised that people have that opinion.
Yeah, I was interested though when you get to Fort Bend has a slightly higher percentage rating, which seems to trend a little more conservative, a little more red than blue city. In New York, if this were the same survey taken in New York, how do you think it would react?
New York is very blue. And typically New Jersey is as well. And so it would probably be a little higher than this, honestly. Yeah. People would have even more, solid opinions of how they just dislike ICE's job.
Well, it's interesting since they had the change in management at the top of the totem pole when it comes to immigration reform, what's going on there, it seems as though it got quieter. When they switched out the head, it seemed to release some of the tension there, but I don't know if that means it released what was going on or if the same behavior was continuing.
But really, when we think about it, isn't ICE and whoever's running ICE, aren't they just doing what the president wants them to do, right? Yeah. I don't think they're making the decisions. But I will say, to your point, since getting rid of Kristi Noem, it was so important for her to, like, if you're at the airports, you're seeing her picture on the screens and seeing all the commercials. And so that's why we don't see much from the head of it, because I guess the new person's not, they don't want to be on the camera as much as she did.
713-440-8870. Fred is on the line from Central Houston. Fred, what's on your mind?
Hey, my Chinese visa expired today. I'm getting ready to renew it. I've watched how China enforces their visa and immigration policy. You get deported immediately if they find some violation. And the current status quo that shaped Houston, or the prior status quo that shaped Houston, went on for decades, where we have families that have formed and people that are here that enjoyed the benefits of laws that weren't enforced. And the feedback on this cycle is that the country decided on many other issues as well. They wanted these laws enforced, but it would be good if there was some type of reform that was fair. But we also have an immigration policy history that was built on quotas, and where we would select people from different countries based on whether or not those countries' cultures were viewed as being compatible with our own. And so you've got to celebrate what we have in Houston. We've got a really good group of people that in the end, they're willing to work hard, and we can always come together with different backgrounds and work hard to solve problems and build things, and we should really be warm about that.
Fred, you mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, that your visa is expiring and you have to renew it. Are you at all concerned that in the process of doing, as we've seen, going in to follow the rules and regulations, that you may still be targeted?
Okay, so I'm a U.S. citizen, and I'm going to renew my Chinese visa.
Oh, okay,
gotcha.
And I'm going to comply with that, and I'm going to do all that, and I submit to this process, and it may not be approved, I guess, but anyway.
No, Fred, thank you for your insight on this.
Yeah, I just want a really fair conversation with this, and that's what people need.
Yeah.
That they need a fair conversation, not a politically minded one.
Fred, thank you very much for calling and sharing your point of view with us. And I think we're in agreement on that the laws and the rules should be followed. And if these are the regulations and the rules and you don't like them, then we change legislatively.
Yeah.
But I think the problem that we have seen is the aggressive nature and the, as some would characterize as unfair nature of how it's been being pursued. And I think that's what leads to this negativity. I think probably most people agree you got to have your papers in order.
Yeah. And then also it was presented to voters that we would be getting rid of the hardened criminals, and people are seeing that most of the people that they're getting rid of aren't the hardened criminals. And I think maybe that lends itself to the numbers.
General sweeping comment here. Immigration reform is what everyone, I think, agrees we need. We just want to find a place we can settle on it. 713-440-8870. Linda from Houston is on the line. Linda, share with us. What's on your mind?
Yes. Hi. I wanted to say that the reason why a lot of people are disapproving of ICE isn't because we are seeing anything with our own eyes. So I think your comment of saying, I haven't seen anything, so why are people feeling this way, is a little tone deaf. Mm-hmm. We know that they are being aggressive and are doing things that are very illegal. And the reason why people are disapproving is because of what they're doing, and is not anything to do with seeing things firsthand.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right on that. Thank you for sharing that point of view with us, Linda. 713-440-8870. If you have a thought, a feeling about this topic, give us a call right now, and we'd love to hear what you think. I'm going to shift topics a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to take you out of this world. Here we go. Pentagon over the weekend has released a new trove of UFO, or what the military calls UAP, documents dating from the Cold War to recent years. More than 160 files were posted online Friday, including military reports, videos, and astronaut accounts describing unexplained sightings. One document recounts Apollo 11 astronaut Buzz Aldrin describing unusual lights and objects seen during the mission to the moon. The release follows President Trump's push for greater transparency, with additional files expected in coming months. Officials stress the records do not confirm extraterrestrial life, only that some incidents remain unexplained. What do you think? Give us a call. Are you going to check out these files? Do you believe we're being watched? Have we had encounters? 713-440-8870. Shelley, I heard you take a breath.
When I read about, Buzz Aldrin's account and like lasers and lights and such, I was like, oh my God, what could that be? But I'm like, could it also have been like some sort of star that was shining bright, or some sort of, just trying to make some sort of sense of it, other than maybe it was alien life?
Well, I think we want to assume Buzz Aldrin is trained in knowing what he's going to see, and when something doesn't fit what they've been prepared for, or his scientific deduction of what he saw gives it weight. I though always wonder, a flare, is it a reflection? Is the ship in space and some star, like you're saying, reflects off the ship that then can... I don't know. Do I believe that there is other intelligent life out in the great beyond? Absolutely.
Really now?
Statistically, it makes no sense we were the only planet that life existed on when you look at the expanse of space. Are they coming by and checking us out? That's where I don't know that I buy that.
It gets kind of scary to me, because we've always seen the alien movies that, they're coming to get us kind of thing. Yes. Hopefully if there are other, beings out there, they are peaceful beings and they're not coming to get us. But I did see Neil deGrasse Tyson speaking about this morning. And he actually, I think today or sometime this week, is releasing a book about aliens and possibly meeting them. So I'd love to know, if an alien approached you, Ernie, how would you respond? How would you greet them? He was saying, don't reach out your hand because you don't know their proper greeting.
I will be honest with you, Shelley. That's something I have never, ever thought about in my life, of meeting an alien. I have told this story before on the show. Whitley Strieber, who wrote the book Communion, which came out, I think, in the late 80s, and he was talking about having encountered and interacted with aliens and going up to their ship and all of this. And after the interview, he did tell me that the aliens do listen to me, and they have heard me because the radio.
Everyone's a fan of yours.
Yes, because radio signal never dies, just goes off into space, and they were able to listen. And so I have fans in the alien realm. Now, I don't know that I believe that either, but if they do, I would definitely take advantage of my celebrity in that case and be like, wait a minute, I'm Ernie. You listen to me. So I don't know. What do you think?
I've thought about this before. Not a lot of thought, but I agree with you that as vast and as expanse it is, that maybe possibly there is other life form. And like I said, I just would hope that it wouldn't be this scary invasion like we see in the movies. But it feels kind of scary to me, the possibility, honestly.
I've heard that argued if this civilization, this group, whatever it is, these aliens are advanced enough to have been able to create a craft or whatever it would be, an ability to come into our realm, that they would be so highly advanced that more than likely they have left behind the violent nature of that we see in humans when we fight over a piece of land because someone drew a line there, and that they would be much more here to understand and see how yet another life form has evolved. And so that gives me hope that they're not coming to destroy us like we see in all the movies, because it would make no sense that they would travel all through this galaxy and this, as we keep saying, expansive space to come here to blow up one little insignificant rock with a few people on it. You know, it would, I would hope, be something
I would
better.
hope as well.
Well, that is one alien we're talking about today. Other aliens are when we talk about documented or undocumented folks. And that was a terrible segue, but I needed one anyway. So let's go to the phones because Catherine is on the line talking about our first story again about ICE. Catherine's calling us from Houston at 713-440-8870. Hello, Catherine. What's on your mind?
Hi. I just wanted to say that I think most people don't have a problem with immigration laws being enforced. No country can have completely open borders. No country that I know of does have completely open borders. But it's how it's being enforced. We have due process of law in this country, and the Supreme Court ruled in 2025 that due process of law applies to literally every person on U.S. soil, whether they're a U.S. citizen or not. And so when ICE is enforcing immigration laws but grossly violating due process, that's what people have a problem with.
Yes, Catherine. Yeah, what I was going to say is, you know, the stories we hear of people going for their assigned hearings in courts and they're following the regulations that have been laid out for them and then they are picked up seems very un-American. You know, if the person wasn't going to their hearings, you know, you don't go for your traffic hearing ticket and they say there's a warrant for your arrest. You understand if you're not following the regulations, you're in trouble. But people that are trying to abide by it. Now, others will argue with me, but they came into this country not abiding by our laws. But oftentimes that's not the case either. They're coming for refuse and for safety. So it's a difficult topic to talk about. Catherine, thank you very much for sharing your opinion with us. 713-440-8870. Elizabeth is on the phone from Galveston. Elizabeth, what's on your mind? Elizabeth, you there? I'm not hearing you. Oh, I don't know where Elizabeth went. Okay, but we'll continue chatting about it. Nonetheless, Elizabeth, we'll try and track you down. If you have an opinion on this or either of our topics that we've brought up today, give us a call, 713-440-8870. As we wrap up this segment, I want to let you know that the owners of Dunkin' Donuts and Buffalo Wild Wing have confidently filed for an IPO seeking $20 billion in validation. We'll see what happens there. Anyway, we're moving on. Coming up on the show, up next, U.S. Representative Christian Menefee is in the House. Will join us to discuss the upcoming runoff election for against U.S. Representative Al Green for the District 18 seat. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
On the next Fresh Air.
Meet Tio Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
In a new adaptation of Amadeus. Join us.
Listen to Fresh Air tonight. Starts at 8 o'clock on News 88.7.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe. R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul. Music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match. Metro provides bus, rail, and paratransit service and continues mobility enhancements across the region. More at ridemetro.org/Metro now. Support also from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider committed to helping Texas communities and emphasizing safety. More at texasmutual.com/Texans. Get it.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from attorney mediator Ron Bankston. providing in-person, video conference, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.
Houston Public Media presents the Moth Story Slam. That's tomorrow at Lambert Hall. Doors open at 7 p.m. The theme of the night is I Got It From My Mama, stories about what runs in the family. Tickets at houstonpublicmedia.org/The Moth.
Support comes from the extended campus at the University of Texas at Austin, helping professionals and organizations upskill, reskill, and stay ahead in an ever-changing work environment. More at extendedcampus.utexas.edu.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manouse and guest host Shelley Wade.
Gotcha. Later this month, Houston voters are heading into an important runoff election for Texas' 18th Congressional District, a race that will help decide who represents the area after state leaders altered the congressional map last year. Early voting begins May 18th, with the runoff election set for May 26th as the Democratic candidates make their final push to connect with voters. Joining us today is Representative Christian Menefee to discuss his runoff campaign, the issues he's focusing on, and what he hopes to accomplish if elected to a full term in Congress. Congressman, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Welcome. Thank you very much. I think the last couple times I was here, I was Harris County Attorney, so happy to be back now as a member of Congress.
When you walked into the studio, I got to welcome you as Congressman, as opposed to in the past not being able to say that. How does it feel?
Life comes at you really fast. It feels great. You know, I replaced the late, great Congressman Sylvester Turner, who, you know, was a fantastic mayor, who was one of my friends and mentors. Huge shoes to fill between him and the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, but we have hit the ground running and gotten to work, and it's been the honor of my lifetime. I'm only 90 days in, but I can already say this is probably one of the most important things I'll do in my life.
If you want to join the conversation, we welcome you at 713-440-8870. I guess the first place to start in all of this is voter fatigue when it comes to voting. And a lot of folks are probably extremely confused. Wait, didn't we just vote for him? Didn't all this just happen? What are we doing again? When is the seat? Explain a little bit about this timeline and why it's important they're paying attention to this.
There's been a huge voter education component of this campaign for us. When the late, great Sylvester Turner passed away, the special election was called for last November. So folks out there, if you voted in November, you were voting for who was going to replace Sylvester for the rest of his term. And then the runoff election for that race, because nobody got 50%, was January 31 of this year. So you all elected me. So proud to be representing you. I took office February 2nd, but because the Republican leadership in this state redrew the maps in the middle of the year last year, which is highly atypical, I had just 3 weeks before I was on the ballot again for the March primary for a district that is 75% different from the one that I represent now. I came in first in that election as well, but didn't get 50%. And so now we're in a runoff election for that one. 4 races in 7 months. It has been a complete marathon. I like to think of it as like a 4-legged relay race. This is the last leg. But to the folks out there, this is about who's going to represent you starting in January of next year. And this is a district that goes from downtown Houston basically all the way down to Missouri City. Mm-hmm. So for the folks who live in that area, it's about who's going to carry the torch into the future. And I've been so grateful to have the opportunity to serve y'all for 90 days. But I'm looking to take this district into the future and do everything I can to protect our rights, which are very quickly eroding under Donald Trump's presidency.
You talk about the redistricting that you've experienced and the change in your race. And since we've since last week, we've had the Supreme Court come down on a decision that's upsetting a lot of people, or a lot of people don't seem to understand the logic behind what the court decided. What would you say to your constituents about what we've heard from the Supreme Court and in the bigger picture of what you can do in the current seat you're in and if you get reelected to reestablish or alter the way this is going?
Because there were so many states across the South that had explicitly racist voting practices over the past several decades, the Voting Rights Act allowed and required, in fact, for certain minorities to be able to elect a candidate of their choosing for districts to be drawn a certain way. The idea that in the South, you were never going to elect a black candidate if there weren't policies in place that ensured that communities of color were drawn in a compact way and communities of interest together. What the Supreme Court did here was effectively allow folks to carve out black communities from being able to elect the candidate of their choice, as long as the legislators say that it was for partisan reasons. Right now, you're seeing Republican legislators across the South start to draw maps that completely eliminate black districts. Tennessee is probably the best example. In Memphis, you have a highly concentrated black community, and instead of putting them in a position to elect the candidate of their choosing, the legislator out there has drawn Memphis into 3 different congressional districts for the first time in the past 60 or 70 years. I firmly believe we should not allow partisan gerrymandering in this country. Politicians should not be drawing their districts. They should not be selecting their voters. The voters should be selecting their politicians. To me, the best way to do this is ensure that in a state, you have the maximum number of districts that are drawn between 48 to 52% of one party. You know what that does? That makes folks of both political parties have to come to the table, have to have serious conversations as adults, have to engage with people who don't see the world the same way as you. Instead, we've created a system where you have a district that's 80% Republican. After they win their primary election, they have no desire, no need to have a conversation with Democrats or anybody who disagree with them. So I'm going to continue to support a ban on partisan gerrymandering. The last time that a bill with that type of language was before the House, every single Democrat voted for it, not a single Republican voted for it. So we're going to have to do all we can to win elections, to take back the House and the Senate, and to ban partisan gerrymandering.
I wonder, listen, my mom, born and raised in Houston, my father, born and raised in East Texas, grew up on a farm. Both of them lived during a time where they didn't have equal rights. As a matter of fact, my siblings and I were the first generation to have, be born into, equal rights. And then so many of the people of my mother's generation and before them fought hard and died for the right to vote. And now with this Supreme Court decision, a lot of people are feeling like, did these people fight and die in vain? For people who are feeling a little hopeless, what kind of hope can you give them that we can get back to that place that was fought for?
You have to be your grandparents. You have to be your parents. You have to channel that fight, and it's going to take every single person in this country to fight that fight. My father also grew up in East Texas. My grandfather paid a poll tax in order to be able to exercise his franchise. We have people in our communities now who were subject to poll taxes, to literacy tests in other states in order to cast their right to vote. We love to romanticize the heroes from the civil rights movement. So many of them were just human beings who said, I'm not going to continue to get punched on. So what I need from my generation, from every single person who is of age right now, is to get in the fight. This is going to be a fight that we will fight across state legislators, in Congress, in the courtrooms, and there will and needs to be protesting in the streets. You have to make sure that this is top of mind for every single person so that when we get power back and we're able to ban partisan gerrymandering, we're able to restore the Voting Rights Act, that there's enough public pressure to do so. So to the folks who are out there feeling hopeless, I would say there isn't time for it. We need all hands on deck, everybody to stand up and to fight for our rights. I've seen so many folks across social media, on the news, who were just kind of average Joes and Janes, but this is the thing that got them off the couch and into the game. And I've been saying for years, every time I go talk to folks at Thurgood Marshall School of Law and we're talking about the restriction of rights that we're seeing, I remind them there is no Thurgood Marshall coming to save you. You have to stand up and be part of the solution to save yourself. And look, I'm a public servant. I'm going to be on the front lines fighting, but I don't want you thinking that I'm going to unilaterally save you. I'm going to do every single thing I can, but you are empowered. You are strong enough. You are capable enough. You can be a part of this fight, and we all need to be side by side doing all we can because this Supreme Court is a 6-3 conservative majority. They've taken away a woman's right to make her own reproductive decisions. We know that at least one of the justices is trying to look at the Obergefell decision that allows same-sex couples to get married. They've now gutted the Voting Rights Act. This is a tactical and calculated effort to restrict rights, and it's going to take all of our communities fighting back to stop it.
One uncomfortable position that they have put you in with this redistricting is that now you are in a runoff election with another incumbent U.S. congressman who has got deep roots in the community as well. How do you advise voters to make the decision when it comes to between you and Al Green?
Yeah, it's neither Congressman Green nor I asked for this. This was the President of the United States who instructed Governor Abbott, who was happy to oblige, to redraw districts to, put 2 black leaders in the same district to decrease us from having 2 black members of Congress to just 1. But I believe that I'm the best candidate to take this district into the future. I'm in this fight for the long haul. If you look at what Donald Trump is doing to our communities, we need folks who are going to strategically fight him moving forward. And I've shown an ability to do that. When I was Harris County attorney, we took a backroom office and built it into a fighting force for democratic values across the state of Texas. Whether it be beating Ken Paxton to protect votes that were cast, or beating Greg Abbott to make sure that concrete batch plans can hyper-concentrate in black and brown neighborhoods, or even beating the Trump administration themselves in court when they tried to cut more than $20 million in health care funding. Everywhere I go, I went and knocked the door of an 80-year-old African-American woman early in this campaign. When she came to the door, I just knew exactly what she was going to talk to me about. Oh, Medicare, Social Security. She opened the door. She said, "Young man, what are you going to do about Donald Trump?" People want folks who are going to stand up and fight back and do it strategically. And right now you're seeing young members of Congress who are doing that. There are folks in the House Judiciary Committee who grilled Kristi Noem, who grilled Pam Bondi. What happened? They both got fired. You can have an ability to be impactful immediately, and I think I'm the candidate who's going to go in and be impactful. I have a ton of respect for Congressman Green's service, but I think we can be more productive in this district, and I'm the candidate to lead on that.
We're speaking with Christian Menefee about his campaign for the 18th District Congressional seat. And if you'd like to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. Alan is on the line from Acres Homes. Alan, what's on your mind today?
Yes, I have a couple questions for Mr. Menefee. Ironically, I'm not of the Democrat or Republican parties, so I couldn't vote in the primaries. But the media never mentions the other so-called third parties. Ironically, I'm in the Green Party. But anyway, Mr. Menefee, would you support single-payer health care, also known as Medicare for all? And do you want to speak out the way Representative Green has done in Congress, which is about all we can do at this point?
Alan, for time,
thank you.
I'm going to cut you right there because of time, Representative.
Yeah, I'll answer both questions. On Medicare for all, absolutely. I publicly came out in support of Medicare for all at the very beginning of my campaign. I had a brother who survived childhood cancer, and the only reason he did was because my parents' military health insurance that fully funded the co-pays for every single round of radiation, chemo, and the bone marrow transplant that saved his life. I don't believe that any family should have to choose between putting food on the table and getting the life-saving treatment that they need. I've been endorsed by the Medicare for All PAC, and I'm going to keep fighting on that. And yeah, I plan to protest just as vigorously as Congressman Green is, but the only part where I disagree with you is that that's the only thing that we can do. A member of Congress has to do so much more. It's about being a leader. It's about getting bills passed. It's about making sure that the policy that you want to see is in the other bills that are going to get passed. It's about taking on committee work. It is a full spectrum job. And as a member of Congress, I will protest, but I will also produce results. And if you look at the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, he understood this. You saw him marching on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and that protest was incredibly important. But you also saw him standing behind President Lyndon Baines Johnson when he signed the Civil Rights Act of 1994. You got to both protest and produce results. I'm going to do both in Congress.
Representative Menefee, I can't look at you and then also Mr. Green and not think of the vast age difference. What is he, like 40 years older than you?
A little over 40 years, yeah.
So, and I see your ad on TV all the time, and I see 3 older Americans. Was that calculated because you wanted to reach older Americans, because maybe you think that they would probably go more for Representative Green? And then also with his long roots in the city, what do you think? How do you think the city would benefit from your youth, not to make it a youth versus age thing, but how do you think we would benefit from you rather than Representative Green?
Yeah, so I've seen that ad. That's not our ad. An outside group did that ad.
Okay.
So we're not allowed to coordinate. I didn't have any say-so over the ad. And I think the ads that I've run thus far, we haven't made it an age thing at all. And, frankly, I just don't see it as an age thing. my view is this is about who's going to step in and impact, right? I think where I can be valuable in Congress is that I've been a person who's about action, who's about producing real results. And my time as county attorney proved that. That was a job where I could have just come to work every day, went home, would have gotten reelected every 4 years, been able to go to all the little swanky galas and stuff. But I stepped in on that job, and we turned it into something. We turn it into a place that fights for stuff. We turn it into a place that produces real results. And that's what I think folks expect out of their member of Congress as well. And I think I'm the only candidate that you're going to see that from. There has been a generational change in the Democratic Party. You know, we think back to President Biden debating former President Trump, and after that debate, a lot went wrong. And then you saw that they kind of reluctantly passed the reins over to Vice President Harris. I would argue a little bit too late. But you've seen Speaker Pelosi turn the reins over to Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. You've seen a number of members of Congress who are more senior announce that they were retiring. What I've heard from folks in the community is we want the torch to be passed, that this could have been a mentorship opportunity between Congressman Green and I. And that's not the posture that he's taken, and that's perfectly fine. It's a democracy. Anybody can run. But I'm a firm believer that the United States Congress is dealing with issues right now that are going to impact us for the next 50 years. I am raising my family in this community. I got 2 young kids, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I'm looking to take this fight into the future. And, you know, what I've heard from most people is we suspect that you and Congressman Green would have very similar votes on just about anything, right? But I think where the difference is going to be on the strategies and tactics of fighting today to impact us tomorrow. And if you look across the United States Congress, there have been junior members of Congress who have been leading the charge. The member of Congress who forced the Epstein files to be released, he hasn't hit double-digit years in Congress yet. The member of Congress who's leading the charge on fighting against the disparities in maternal mortality, she hasn't yet hit double-digit years in Congress yet. There's a brother out of Colorado, Representative Joe Neguse, who's been in Congress, I don't think, a decade yet, and he's passed 33 bills. You can be a vigorous, intentional member of Congress if you go in with that mindset, and that is exactly who I am, and I think that the community will greatly benefit from it.
We are speaking with U.S. Representative Christian Menefee about his campaign for the 18th Congressional District seat. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call, 713-440-8870. Sam is on the line from Montrose. Sam, what's on your mind?
Well, Ernie, Representative Menefee is so articulate, I can't speak as well, but there are 2 things besides demonstrating and fighting, as he says, an effective way to fight. One is anybody can go through the website and register people to vote, get the authorization to register people to vote. I'm going to do it. I've done it before. That's a very effective way to get the vote out. Another thing I do is do postcards to swing states. It's a nationwide organization that sends out postcards urging liberals to vote. Probably Democrats, but we don't know. And that's a short postcard. You fill out the postcard yourself, address it, put a stamp on it. The postcard is free, and you send it when they tell you to send it. I think they're tens of millions of people send these cards. For the last presidential election, I did 2,500. My team did 30,000.
Wow.
So that's something that would be very effective.
Well, Sam, great work. Do you have a question for the representative before I let you go?
No, I'll be supporting him. He's very articulate. I should ask him how he got so articulate. He's a lawyer. That's right. He's a lawyer, just like me.
Yeah, no, you can thank my parents for that.
I just wanted to expand upon his comments.
Yeah, Sam, thank you very much for calling. He brings up a good point also that's in this conversation. A lot of this is going to depend on turnout.
Yeah.
And how are you organized to make sure you get the most impact at the polls when the time
Yeah,
comes?
you know, these runoff elections are a unique beast. I always tell people. My first election last November for this congressional seat, I was in first place at the end of that 16-person primary by 3 percentage points. And then at the time, the third place finisher endorsed the second place finisher, and everybody said, oh, just basic math, you're over, right? Because you add their 2 votes together, it's going to be more votes than you. And then in the runoff, we won by 37 points. Yeah. And it's because a runoff is a different race. Mm-hmm. This is about who can get people the most excited about their campaign, get them off their couches and into the polls. So we're doing all we can to keep people excited, talking about my work that I've done before, but also talking about what we're going to do when we get the majority back. This is something I think Democrats traditionally have struggled with. We tell people what to be against. We don't tell them what to be for. And I'm a firm believer that we should be focusing on putting more money back in people's pockets. There used to be a time in this country where you could work 40 hours a week. You could get the house, the 2 cars, send your kids off to do better than you did, retire at a reasonable age with dignity, and have a little money in your pocketbook to have a good time on a Friday night. For most people, that's just not their reality now. They're working multiple jobs. They're not making ends meet. And some folks are retiring much later. Some aren't retiring at all. So we have to increase the minimum wage. We have to increase the number of tax breaks for working families, like the earned income tax credit, like the child tax credit. I want down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, because what got me and my family into our first home was when I was in high school. My parents got a VA military down payment assistance. They only put $500 down. That got us into a house, and they've owned homes ever since. It's about giving the average person a leg up and a better shot at the American dream, because since the 1970s, the average worker's compensation has increased only 18%, but since that exact same time period, the average compensation of the average large company CEO has increased 1,300%. So we're making it easier for people 1 billion to get more billions, but we're not making it easier for the working Joe and Jane to keep more money in their bank account. So I know we're in Congress going to be heavily focused on putting more money back in people's pockets, and I look forward to being a leader on that.
I want to remind folks, too, conventional wisdom will say whoever is the Democrat in the race in November for the seat is going to win. So the significance of the primary between you and Al Green is really the major campaign in this. Would you agree with that?
I do agree. You know how you run on a treadmill and then you get off and your body feels all weird if you don't kind of slow down? That's where I am at this point. There is a Republican in this race, so after this primary, I will be campaigning against a Republican. We're going to debate. I'm going to do all the things because at this point, it's just become habit. But yes, this is a heavily gerrymandered district. It's more than 70% Democratic. And again, I am a direct beneficiary of that in being the Democratic nominee after we win. But I still think it's wrong. I want as many seats as possible, close to 50%. I want competitive primaries. I want competitive generals, because then people will get to Congress and be more focused on getting stuff done for the American people and less focused on going viral on social media to throw red meat at their base to win their next primary.
Let's quickly grab a couple more calls at 713-440-8870. Susan from the 3rd Ward is on the line. Susan, what's on your mind?
Well, my concern is, or my question is, how can we be sure of Congressman Menefee's independence when he accepted $1.5 million from the cryptocurrency industry? And I worry that he's going to represent their interests rather than those of us in Houston.
Susan, thank you for your question, Representative.
Yeah, I have not accepted a single dollar from any corporation. And that includes the crypto industry. I am the only candidate in this race who has sworn off corporate PAC money. I've taken a pledge to do so, and I'm going to continue to do so my entire time in Congress. What I think she's talking about is outside organizations that have spent in the race, which I can't control what they do. By federal law, we're not allowed to coordinate with them. But I think my record is clear. One, I've already signed on to a bill that would abolish super PACs. I think we should not have the massive outside spending that we've seen in campaigns throughout this country, and that's why I've signed on to that bill. And two, I don't report to anybody but the people of the 18th Congressional District. If you want to know how I stand up to powerful interests, just look at my track record as Harris County Attorney. There wasn't a single battle that I ran from, regardless of how powerful the folks on the other side were, whether it be us suing cigarette companies for pushing vaping products into our county, or going after Volkswagen for their emission scandal and the pollution, multiple Fortune 500 oil and gas companies because of pollution issues, or even standing up to the president himself and having his White House call me a radical attorney, which I deeply enjoyed and wear as a badge of honor. I report to the voters, and my track record reflects that, and my donations reflect that as well. We've raised money from tens of thousands of donors, and our average donation is less than $100, and I'm very proud of that.
713-440-8870. Demetra from Jersey Village is on the line. Demetra, what's on your mind?
Hi, Representative Menefee. I have a question regarding Black Americans. What do you say to us who feel like the Black Democrats especially have not really represented our interests, and a lot of us have witnessed our black Democratic misleadership do more for illegal immigration than the black American community. So how do you gain back the confidence of those black Americans?
Demetra, thank you for your call.
Yeah, I think the folks in office have to put their money where their mouth is. For far too long, black voters have been the core block for the Democratic Party. Yet whenever it comes to an issue like reparations, like voting rights, we're cast aside. I have been a vocal proponent of reparations since I first got into politics. You have a subgroup of people who built this country and did it effectively without pay. And to me, that's not, reparations are not a handout. It is back pay. And I've supported that my entire time in public office. But if you even look at voting rights, when we had the trifecta, we had the White House, we had the Senate, we had the House, and it was two Democrats, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, who blocked it. But there were also a bunch of other Democrats that were complicit in not like every single day blowing that issue up and making it a national issue, regardless of whether it was going to harm the party. So my message to them would be, I'm new, so I wasn't involved in none of that. In my time as Harris County attorney, I redirected resources to stand up for black communities time and time again, whether it be going after companies for the pollution out in Fifth Ward, standing up when you saw various concrete batch plants or metal recyclers or waste pits trying to be put into our communities, and I'll continue to fight on that. But I also do believe that we have to fix the immigration issues in this country. Right now, you have families that are being held at, for example, Dilley Detention Center. I was just there visiting last week. It's just south of San Antonio, and you have I saw kids who were, 7, 8 years old who were there with one parent, and I saw the trauma in their eyes, something that they're going to experience for the rest of their life. So I'm going to keep fighting on the immigration issue as well. But no, I completely agree. I think the Democratic Party has had a long history of benefiting from the votes of black Americans and not like delivering. And it's high time that we did.
All right. Thank you very much for that call. We got time for one more. If you keep it tight, we can get you in here. Tyler from Jersey Village is on the line. Tyler, what's on your mind?
Hi, Representative Ernie. Thanks for taking my call. I just had a quick question. When you say that you're against partisan gerrymandering, if you do get elected and you're the face of the next generation of Democrats, what are you going to do when you come up against the opposition and they are not committed to eliminating partisan gerrymandering? And it looks like by supporting that, you will be weakening your position and strengthening theirs. How do you plan on handling that? Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. 1 minute to answer.
Look, we keep fighting until we convince people in their hearts and minds. I believe that there's a contingent of Republicans out there who would be supportive of a ban on partisan gerrymandering, especially after you start to see extreme examples of gerrymandering in their states. I want to be clear. Right now, the rules of the road is that it's legal. So I believe that Democrats should fight fire with fire. But I want to change the rules because a race to the bottom is not going to protect the communities that I love. So I'm going to go at it the old-fashioned way and try to persuade them. I know it sounds atypical in today's environment, but I think building relationships and having conversations can go a long way.
And that is Representative Menefee. Thank you so much for joining us today and for entertaining all the questions that we brought in for you.
Thank y'all for having me.
Okay, remember, the early voting begins May 18th for this seat with the runoff elections set for May 26th. If you can vote, get out there and vote. Coming up, we are going to be into our next hour of Hello Houston. Shelley going to stay with me for the next hour?
I am.
Well, then Shelley's going to stay. I hope you'll all stay with us. More Hello Houston coming up.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Your support for Houston Public Media powers the programs you trust and rely on. And your employer may help your contribution go even further. Many employers sponsor matching gift programs, doubling or even tripling employee contributions. It's an easy way to maximize your impact on the programs you rely on. Search for your company and get started today at houstonpublicmedia.org/match.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8 at 7, Antiques Roadshow visits Grant's Farm in St. Louis, Missouri. Then at 8, it's Episode 3 of Ken Burns' The American Revolution. Tonight on TV 8 or on the PBS app.
Join us for Hello Houston, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., taking a deep dive into the stories that matter to Houstonians, keeping you informed, engaged, and entertained, with a generous support from our founding sponsor, John Bradshaw.
Support comes from Alley Theater, presenting the original production of Dear Alien. In this existential comedy by Liz Duffy Adams, an advice columnist faces a deadline and considers the meaning of life. May 8th through 31st. Tickets at alleytheater.org.
Support comes from School in the Woods, founded in 1962, offering Montessori education from early childhood through grade 12. Enrollment is open now. More information at schoolofthewoods.org. Support also from electricityplans.com, helping Houstonians find electricity plans based on home energy usage and rate comparisons. electricityplans.com. And support comes from the Northwest Management District, located just off of 290 and 610 Loop. More at nmmd.org at the intersection of innovation. This is KUHF Houston. It's 12.
The man charged with targeting President Trump at last month's White House Correspondents Dinner has pled not guilty to the charges against him. We'll discuss this plea and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm guest host Shelley Wade. We'll also learn all about local nonprofit communities and schools in Houston's new mental health initiative and growing need for student mental health support in our community.
Plus, Houston Museum of Natural Sciences entomologist Lauren Davidson will answer all your questions about love bugs and why they're so prevalent this time of the year.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump embarks on a high-stakes state visit to China this week. He and President Xi Jinping are likely to focus heavily on the U.S. war with Iran, where China has deep economic ties. Today, President Trump roundly dismissed Iran's counterproposal to the U.S.'s plan for ending hostilities.
It was just unacceptable. You know, a lot of people said, well, does he have a plan? Yeah, of course they do have the best plan ever. I mean, Iran has been defeated militarily, totally. They have a little left. They probably built up during this period of time. We'll knock that out in about a day. But I have a plan. You know, it is a very simple plan. I don't know why you don't say it like it is. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Trump speaking during a White House event on maternal health and the launch of the resource website moms.gov. The man accused of trying to assassinate Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last month pleaded not guilty to the charges. Cole Allen entered his plea at a hearing in federal court today. Here's NPR's Ryan Lucas.
The 31-year-old faces 4 counts, including trying to assassinate the President of the United States. At his arraignment, Allen was in shackles and an orange prison outfit. He stood at the podium as his attorneys entered a plea of not guilty to the charges against him. Prosecutors say Allen traveled from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. by train and booked a room at the same hotel where the White House Correspondents' Dinner takes place. Allen then allegedly tried to storm the dinner with a shotgun and other weapons, but was stopped at the outer perimeter by Secret Service agents. He is scheduled to be back in court in late June. Ryan Lucas, NPR News, Washington.
18 Americans from a cruise ship stricken by a hantavirus outbreak are back in the U.S. Most are quarantined at a health facility in Nebraska. 2 have been transferred to Atlanta. 1 American has tested positive for the Andes strain of the hantavirus. NPR's Windsor Johnston reports misinformation about the virus is spreading on sites such as TikTok and Instagram.
Some social media users are falsely comparing hantavirus to COVID-19 and promoting unproven treatments, fueling confusion and fear. Dr. Seema Yasmin is a physician and epidemiologist at Stanford University. She says uncertainty often creates the perfect conditions for misinformation.
In a knowledge vacuum, people fill that space with any information that they can get their hands on, whether it's accurate or inaccurate.
Yasmin says people should rely on trusted public health sources. They say transmission is associated with prolonged close contact and the risk to the general public is considered very low. Windsor Johnston, NPR News.
From Washington, this is NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. Houston ISD is now under a federal investigation for its proposed changes to special education services. Last week, the district announced for the 2026-27 school year, it would be consolidating some of its special education services to select campuses. Here's Deputy Superintendent Kristen Hull announcing the changes.
We will still have over half of our campuses that offer self-contained classrooms for students, but some families will be required to move schools to be able to access the services.
Now, the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights is investigating if those changes violate the rights of students with disabilities. On Friday night, HISD defended its forthcoming changes and said any review will show that all special education updates improve student outcome. Harris County Attorney Carla Wyatt has been arrested in Galveston County on charges she was intoxicated while driving. This is the second time Wyatt has been accused of driving under the influence during her tenure as Harris County Treasurer. It also comes after Harris County grand jury declined to indict her on an unrelated burglary charge. Officials say that Wyatt's blood alcohol level was at least 0.15. In sports, the Astros dropped 2 to Cincinnati to the Reds, and Houston continues to languish in the bottom of the American League along with the Los Angeles Angels with just 16 wins. Tonight, the Astros open up a 4-game series with the Seattle Mariners. First pitch is at 7:10 tonight at Dyken Park. Taking a look at your weather, we've got a 30% chance of showers this afternoon, and a possible thunderstorm is also in the mix. We'll see a high around 82 degrees. Tonight, it'll be partly cloudy, a low of 70. Sunny on Tuesday, a high of 83. Right now, it's mostly cloudy, 75 degrees on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian. News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include United States Postal Service, dedicated to putting reliability at the core of USPS Ground Advantage to help businesses operate smoothly. More at USPS.com/groundadvantage.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manouse.
And hello, we are back again with you, and I say we. Who's sitting here with me today?
Moi, Shelley Wade.
And Shelley, I know we did a bigger talk about this in the first chunk, but introduce yourself to the listeners.
So I'm Shelley Wade, born and raised here in Houston, Texas. I started my radio career at 97.9 The Box, excuse me. So many stations, got to get it right in your head.
And if I'm not mistaken, you were still in college when you were doing that.
I was. I was still a junior at Texas Southern University studying radio and television, and I got my first full-time job on the radio. It was really amazing, and it was so funny. I would make up these little flyers, and I would take it to the student union. Listen to your fellow TSU Tiger on the radio every day from this time to that time. It was such an exciting time. It really was.
I've often joked about if it gets to the point where it doesn't thrill you to be able to get to do this job, you shouldn't be doing this job. And you can tell with you, there's still the joy of getting behind this mic and sharing with people.
Can I tell you, we were just talking about this yesterday. We were at my mom's for Mother's Day, and all of my siblings, we were sitting around the table, and my niece and nephews as well. And we were talking about jobs and careers because my nephew is currently looking for a job. And my sister said, you do a job that you love, right? Because they were trying to give him the advice. And I said, yes, love my job. Even in times where I feel like I'm sad, when I go to work, it makes me happy. If that makes any kind of sense.
Well, it's much better than the people who, when they go to work, it makes them sad.
Exactly. And so it's always, if you can do something that you love, people always say you never feel like you're working, and I can attest to that. It really is still fun to do all these years later. Yeah.
Well, I've often joked, people are like, oh my God, you've been at that station for 30 years. How can you go to the same job every day for 30 years? And I said, well, the beauty of it is over those 30 years, I've had the opportunity to do lots of different jobs. So everyone is still a challenge and fun. And it's great to get to share with all of you as you listen and you join in and you chat with us. I know that we've gotten some comments from our earlier story today about aliens being out there amongst us. And my favorite comment was the person who said, and I've lost it in the chat already, how they were in the car driving. They missed our chat on aliens and they were so upset.
No.
But Chef Rob says, personally, I think aliens are out there watching us and came to the conclusion that the Earth is the Alabama of the Milky Way galaxy.
Wow.
So they are avoiding us at all costs. Laugh out loud. Oh, Chef Rob.
Wow. What if they're here already, Ernie, and they're living amongst us?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I remember I'm a big fan of what used to be the Weekly World News, which was like a grocery store newspaper rag.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to say that there were aliens in Congress. Members of Congress were aliens. We
That
forgot to ask
explains
Christian
it.
Menefee if he'd run into any aliens in Congress. I don't know. I mean, I think it's fun to speculate and talk about, and it's fun to see things released. But if the president's going to be releasing documents, I think there's others we'd rather
Other
see.
documents people
than
want to
these.
see.
Yeah. Something else we were going to talk about, my obsession, Eurovision, but we wanted to stay with Christian Menefee. So our interview with William Lee Adams is going to be on tomorrow's show. So if you want to know about what's going on in the world of Eurovision, join us tomorrow for that.
I love how obsessed with Eurovision you are. I absolutely love it.
Well, I'm happy you love it. Most people find it very annoying. And good news to all of you out there who find it annoying. It all wraps up this Saturday. So maybe a recap on next Monday, but then I'll be done for another year. So we can make it together. We can get through this. Also, we've got quite a big hour coming up this hour. We're going to be talking about something extremely important, and that's mental health and wellness, especially when it comes to our schools and what we're doing to help our students. That's coming up this hour. And then something that's going to be fun to lighten up the end of the show today. We're going to be talking about love bugs. You know, they're always hooked together and they're flying around. Well, they don't bite, first of all. So no need to have to swat them or kill them. They're not going to get you. But we'll be talking about all those little insects that are coming out. You said you just got bit in New York, and that's early.
Well, I got bit by a mosquito here yesterday in Houston.
Oh, well, that's expected.
And like I said, in New York, we're not getting bitten by them yet. So I'm annoyed that I've gotten bitten this early in the season.
Oh, okay. Well, one thing that always bites at us is it's getting to the headlines, and we got to get there now. So, Shelley, take me into the first story.
All right. I want to make sure that I have the right story, Ernie.
You're going to come in with a D1, and we're going to be talking about Cole
My apologies.
Allen.
This is my first time doing the show.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's get serious. News Nation is reporting that Cole Allen, the man accused of targeting President Donald Trump at the White House Correspondents Dinner on April 25th, has pleaded not guilty to all charges against him. The 31-year-old Allen of Torrance, California, had his arraignment at 9 a.m. this morning in D.C. A grand jury has indicted him on charges including attempting to kill the president, assaulting a federal officer with a deadly weapon, and additional weapons offenses. Prosecutors allege Allen forced his way through a security checkpoint at the Washington Hilton during a press gala attended by Trump and members of the cabinet. Authorities say he fired a weapon and struck a Secret Service agent who avoided serious injury because of a bulletproof vest. Defense attorneys have objected to Allen's initial jail conditions, including restrictive suicide prevention measures they say limited his ability to participate in his defense. More recently, they asked the court to disqualify Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro from the case, noting that they were both present at the event. So what are your thoughts on Allen pleading not guilty? Should Pirro and Blanche be disqualified from participating in the case? Call us and let us know your thoughts, 713-440-8870.
I'm going to start this off with showing a little of my ignorance in this case and not having all of the facts in front of me. For it to be an assassination attempt of the president, considering he never even made it into the hall, he wasn't in the room where the president was, I do not know offhand, and I apologize for this, if there was a manifesto that said he was going to kill the president or that was his goal. Not knowing that, it's hard for me to talk about the rest of the story, and I should have looked that up to be sure. I know that he did do He took selfies of himself in the hotel room. He definitely came packed with weapons. And so it was obvious he was there to cause a ruckus. But an attempted assassination of a president is different than just, as horrible as it is to say, an attempted assassination. So the not guilty may be stemming from the fact you're accusing me of trying to kill the president. I did not try to kill the president. And it may have also been the understanding he knew he would never get that close, but he was going to make an attempt to get there. And so I think it's in the legalese of that is where I'm stuck in the story. If you know more, please give us a call, 713-440-8870. Let us know what you think about that, Shelley.
I know that he did some social posts, and it felt like I would have to go back and do research, like you said, but it felt like he did make a mention. He may not have said the president by name, but he may have made a mention.
See, and I think that's what it holds in.
Yeah.
If in fact he made a verbal or written threat against the president as opposed to administration. Yeah, Sean Radigan is saying, honestly, on our chat group, I may be getting it wrong. He's saying, no, commenting on it. I haven't seen it. I'm sorry. I'm getting caught up in the chat there, and I thought he was responding to what we had said.
But just it really is disturbing that he got as far as he did in the first place.
Yes.
That's very disturbing.
There's a lot of I mean, I am far from a conspiracy theorist. But of late, I'm getting close to wearing a tinfoil hat these days. What you see is the way he's in the hallway that he's in before he enters the hallway where the metal detectors were. It seems as though that there's a security person with a dog who is sniffing, and he must have been able to see the guy. And they move away, and then the guy runs in. It's just, from the angles we see, it's very confusing what actually is going on there.
Not being able to see everything, moments before, and also not being able to hear everything that went on as well.
713-440-8870. We have a call line from Charlene from the Museum District. Charlene, what's on your mind?
Okay, what my comment is that I feel that Janine Pirro and Todd Blanche need to be removed from the case because they was present. And the other thing, I feel that he should plead not guilty because the gun that went off and hit the other police officer was a friendly fire. It was from another police officer, not from him.
Interesting.
And that's my comment.
Thank you, Charlene.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again,
Bye.
I don't know the facts close enough to know if that is accurate or not.
But I think probably what they're charging him for are his intentions.
Right.
That's probably where they're going, as opposed to whether the shot was friendly fire or not.
And they've taken apart the video and the audio from it and wrote back and forth. So I'm going to talk to me a little bit about that while I check something right here.
Okay. So, yeah, people, there were, like you said, there were a bunch of conspiracy theories. There were people saying, I'm not going to mention all of the theories, but yes, we didn't hear all of the audio ahead of time. We also didn't get to see more than just a couple of moments before. So as you said, I did see the officer with the dog, but what exactly happened right before that? We didn't see everything.
And when you see the full scope of the layout of the rooms leading up to it, that all the press and the step and repeat where the photos are taken are in this hall, where then there's a short hallway that it leads into that has the elevators, and right on the other side of that is that doorway we see him come running out of. So the question is, did he come down in the elevators and then just take off in there? How did it? So we don't know all that. I do want to go back to the other thing we were talking about a moment ago. We got some clarification. The White House Correspondents Dinner shooting suspect wrote a manifesto that stated he planned to target Trump administration officials, prioritized from highest ranking to lowest, according to the copy obtained by CBS News. Cole Allen, 31, wrote that law enforcement, hotel employees, and guests weren't his intended targets, but that he would still attack them to get to the administration, adding, I really hope it doesn't come to that. So there is the wiggle room in there. It doesn't specifically state I'm going for the president.
Yeah, and that's what I was referring to. I didn't say it as eloquently as that, but he did write something where he was targeting people, and he didn't say Trump specifically, but as you said, administration. But he did say from the highest to the lowest, and the highest would be the president.
Right.
So that would be what they're charging him with. And so, like you said, wiggle room, he could say not guilty because he didn't say specifically, I'm going for you.
Right. He could say my intention was not to kill the president, was to kill high-ranking officials. Now, still, a threat to kill officials and showing up with the weapons, you can put it together. But does that mean the president? And there is definitely a higher punishment rate on going after the sitting chief of our country.
When he goes the highest to the lowest, I would assume he's talking about the president.
Ranking to the lowest.
Isn't the president the highest ranking?
But almost highest ranking implies a group as opposed to an individual. The highest ranked would be president. Highest ranking could be anyone in the cabinet. See, I'm just parsing the words.
I was going to say that's really parsing, but listen,
713-440-8870. We have Mario from West Side on the line. Mario, what's on your mind?
Hi, I'm thinking that he's right to claim not guilty because this can only be considered a conspiracy to assassinate the president, even if he made it into an outer lobby. He never made it into the room. And even if he made posts on social media, that's still considered conspiracy. There's no attempt at that point. He's just talking, right? He's making threats. And so that's as far as they can take that. There's no way they can, I think, validly convict him of an attempted assassination of the president if he never even made it into the room, no matter what he said.
Wow. Mario, thank you for those comments. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, too. And as we talk about this, what he's pleading not guilty to are the charges that were put toward him. Not saying he wasn't there, he didn't have the gun, he wasn't in a position to shoot. It's that you're saying I did this, and I'm saying, no, I didn't do that. And that's important legalese that you try and dig into there. While we continue to talk about this story and get your thoughts on it, 713-440-8870, I actually want to skip over onto your story about blue dot fever, the A3, because I think this is an interesting, fun one.
It really is. Listen, have you heard about what's being called blue dot fever? I hadn't heard of it, but this is very interesting. It's named after all those blue dots you see as unsold seats when you look up a concert on Ticketmaster. And the Pussycat Dolls are the latest victims, which also may have claimed Meghan Trainor, Zayn, Jelly Roll, and even Post Malone. Trainor and Zayn abandoned all their U.S. arena dates, while Post Malone and Jelly Roll shut down a third of their co-headlining U.S. stadium tour. Those venues had a lot of open seats, but only the Pussycat Dolls publicly blamed poor sales for canceling. So why are people not buying tickets? Short answer is it costs more. Just like everything else these days, the average tickets cost about $82 back in 2020. It's up to $144 this year. There could be relief in sight after a jury found Ticketmaster's parent company, Live Nation, guilty of acting as a monopoly. But experts are warning that may not lead to a long-term decline in ticket prices. Are you still going to concerts? Are ticket prices way too high? I feel like I know the answer. Is there any artist touring out there worth the high cost of tickets? Call us and let us know. Sound off at 713-440-8870.
Okay, so, I think the Pussycat Dolls coming forward and saying poor ticket sales, that's nice and refreshing in today's day and age for someone to say, hey, listen, we wanted to go out and tour. Tickets weren't selling, so remember us on vinyl and CD and enjoy streaming us, and we're going to be done. The other interesting part is Nicole Scherzinger has made such a name for herself now, having just come off Sunset Boulevard on Broadway. She has reestablished herself as a different artist. Yeah. And I'm sure they thought with all that popularity and bringing them back together, that would sell it. But by no means do I think it means people aren't interested, at least in Nicole and her
Mhm.
future and her career and her concerts.
And there are so many tours right now, those nostalgia tours, with groups of people getting together. Perhaps had they gotten together with other groups rather than just
Yeah.
Pussycat Dolls, it would have sold better. But interesting to note, you said, what was her show again on Broadway?
Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, Sunset Boulevard. It was originally successful on the West End in London.
Right.
And she does really well over there. And she and the Pussycat Dolls did not cancel their European tour because those tickets are selling. But here in the States, they aren't. So they canceled their U.S. Tour dates. But yeah, as you said, a lot of people, when their tickets aren't selling, they just cancel the show. Sometimes they don't even say that they canceled it. They just kind of quietly go away. But sometimes they make up other reasons. I do think it's refreshing that they were honest about it, the Pussycat Dolls.
I'm living in a world today of honesty. We want honesty. I also want to say about that, when you think about ticket prices, and this goes back to spectacle, because I think people will go to a show if it's a spectacle. Going to a concert where a performer comes out and sings doesn't carry the same impact. And I think a lot after the pandemic, people were like, we don't have to go to all of this stuff anymore. So what you need now is you need spectacle. You need a Madonna tour. You need something that's going to be, you need a Beyonce and Jay-Z together even, you
Let
need
me tell you,
huge.
I have gone to see Prince and Michael Jackson in concert, and I don't feel like I need to go see people because they're not as good as them.
Yeah,
So I'm very snooty when I go to shows, but I did fly all the way down from New York to see Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour here at NRG. I came all the way down because that was a spectacle.
Right.
It was
I think
amazing.
when you say Michael Jackson, you got a spectacle.
Yes.
Michael Jackson put on a show, and I think that's the thing that people need to remember. But to go back to that argument, spectacle costs money.
Yeah, it does.
And so that's why ticket prices go up. You've got unions, you've got crew, you've got performers, you've got musicians, you've got the star, you've got, for all of that, if
But
I'm
Ernie,
paying
the problem
enough.
is that people aren't buying music the way they used to, right? So artists are earning a lot of their money by going on tour. And so many people are going on tour. It's just so many people. And you're kind of like, do I have to go see this? Is this person back out on tour again? And it has to feel special for someone, If I'm going to put all this money out to see you, it's got to be special for me, nostalgia. I went to see New Edition and Boyz II Men and Toni Braxton, and that meant something to me. That tour, I wouldn't say it was a spectacle, but because it was so sentimental, it was a reason for me to go. It brought back so many childhood memories. So it's got to be special for people to want to spend their hard-earned money when times are so hard economically already.
I saw some artist being interviewed, and she was talking about how the landscape of what is a pop star today has shifted. And there are so many at one level that are all out there competing for the dollar. And the ones that can still tour are those, and I go back to Madonna again, a Madonna, a Cher, a legacy act that you think this is your last chance. This is something special. This is going to be a huge event. Then I think people are more willing to pay the high ticket price, but I think then that's going to be one concert a year. Where at a lower ticket price, you may opt to go see multiple acts. But then again, music festivals, or for us, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, you get 3 weeks of great concerts.
And so many different
affordable.
genres.
Yeah.
And love it.
It's interesting. What are your thoughts? Have you been to a concert lately? If you're old like me, is what keeps you from going, thinking about all the stairs, walking and the parking. For me, it's the price of parking has gotten ridiculous. Once
everything.
You look at the ticket price, and that's not it. It's if you get something to eat, and if you've got to park, and then you got to get the right outfit, of course.
And if you're going with someone else, if you're paying for them, it's so much. It's a whole production.
I heard somewhere to go to see a Broadway show now for a family of 4, it's over $1,000.
Jeez.
And you think to yourself, even those ticket prices. But then again, that's the same thing. You're paying for so many people to bring this art to you that it's expensive. But who would you still want to see in concert?
Oh, wow.
Given a choice of anybody.
Who would I? I often think, because Prince is my favorite artist. Those who used to listen to me on the radio here know that. And I always feel very sad that I won't get to see him. I used to, and I know that doesn't answer your question, but I used to actually go on tour with him. And when I say that, I would go from city to city and go see Prince. Oh, he's going to be in Austin too? Oh, San Antonio? Oh, let's go to Birmingham and see him. I would do that. And he was such a dynamic performer.
Instead of a deadhead, you were a Prince head?
I was a Prince head, yeah. And he was such a dynamic performer that, I had my little Prince tambourine. It's called a tambaraca. And, he had given that out during one of his promotions, when I worked at the radio station. But now they sell them. I don't know if you knew this, Ernie. Sorry that this is turning into a whole Prince conversation, but I don't know if you knew this, but they have an actual Prince store at the Minneapolis airport.
Oh, I didn't know at the airport they had
you
one.
will go and Prince it up. I'm
Have
telling
you been to Paisley Park?
Yes. I went to Paisley Park when he was alive in 1999 and saw him perform. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I've been to Paisley Park since he passed, and I'm thinking about going again this year because it's the 10th anniversary of his passing.
It's been 10 years.
It's been 10 years, yeah. Actually, last month made 10 years, but, his birthday is June 7th, and that's always a reason to pilgrimage to Minneapolis for his fans.
And I can see people paying money to do something like that.
Yes, because it means something to you.
And there's only a handful of artists, I think, in anyone's life that gets that kind of love from
Exactly.
someone. I will throw this out since we're having this chit-chat right now, and my heart goes out and prayers go out to one of my favorite artists of all time, Bonnie Tyler, from It's a Heartache, Total Eclipse of the Heart, of course, and Holding Out for a Hero. She had a medical emergency last week, ended up going into emergency surgery, and then things took a turn, and she was put into a medically induced coma. There are words that she then had heart attacks within that coma, and it's been very, very iffy. And so our prayers go out to Bonnie Tyler. And
I actually heard that she had procedures and that she had been ill, but I didn't know she was in a coma. I had no clue.
Yeah. 74 years old, so we're praying for her. We've got a call on the line from Stephen. He's going to take us back to our earlier conversation where we were talking about Cole Allen and the assassination attempt at the president. Steve, you're calling from Midtown. What's on your mind?
Hey, so first of all, I'm sorry I don't remember your guest host's name.
Shelley
Wade.
Shelley Wade.
Shelley, you are doing an incredible job. You are fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I have never been a conspiracy theorist. I think conspiracy theories are silly. The one that I buy into is the Trump assassination stuff, that it's staged. And I would not be surprised if this is part of it too, and that the not guilty plea is part of an effort to get the information out there, and I bet he does not even make it to trial.
Wow.
Interesting point, Steve. Thank you very much for that. I hear a lot of people talk about that when it comes to these assassination attempts. And I wonder, and I mean, for me, the problem that sticks is the logistics of it all. Mm-hmm. We've seen other people get killed in those attempts. We've seen these people be tried, and I can't make the connection there. Not to say that I can't
believe the conspiracy.
Yeah, I can't believe it's truly a conspiracy.
I don't have enough information to say I believe or don't believe, but it's very interesting to me that he got so far. And then they showed footage. I don't know if you got a chance to see the footage that when he checked in and he's like scoping out the place. What do they call it when you're like trying to check out the place and to make sure it's not
casing the joint?
Casing, yes. He was casing the joint. I could not think of that phrase. He was casing the joint. And no one was, I guess anyone can walk around a hotel. But my point is, that the president and all of these, high-ranking people are going to be there. Maybe people shouldn't be able to case the joint that close to the event.
There are questions definitely there. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back with more of the show. Before we do that, we were also talking about aliens today, and we did a poll, as we do every day, over on our YouTube. So what do you folks think? Do you think there are aliens? Are aliens real? Well, 75% of you say yes, they're definitely out there.
That's a large number.
19 said no, I don't believe in aliens, and 6% of you said I am an alien. We'll be back with more Hello Houston right after this.
Meet Gamola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Gamola to learn more about his ride.
All the time that is making these Chinese models even better every single day.
I'm Natalie Kitroeff. That's Today on the Daily from the New York Times.
The Daily this evening at 7 on News 88.7.
I'm Stephen Dubner. On the next Freakonomics Radio, Epic Systems maintains health records for more than 80% of Americans.
I think most of us who work here would hesitate to go to a place that doesn't have our software because they realize it does help save lives.
We visit Judy Faulkner, the unusual founder and CEO of an unusual company. That's next time on Freakonomics Radio.
Freakonomics Radio tonight at 10 on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conference, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.
Support comes from Houston Parks Board, a National Estuaries Program watershed grant recipient restoring 8 wetlands across Houston's bayous. Learn more at houstonparksboard.org. Support also from Theater Under the Stars, presenting Beautiful, the Carole King story. You've got a friend that will have you singing along with this all-new production on stage at the Hobby Center the 19th to the 31st. Tickets available at tuts.org. Support also from the Near Northwest Management District, located just off of 290 in the 610 Loop, with a mixture of modern and mid-century homes and businesses. More information at nnmd.org, at the intersection of innovation.
Support comes from the Rowan Foundation, hosting the Boldface Conference for Emerging Writers at the University of Houston, featuring poet and professor Cicely Parks. May 18th through the 22nd. Registration at boldfaceconference.com.
Support also from NAMI Walks Greater Houston, community walks supporting mental health education and support services through the National Alliance on Mental Illness. 2026 NAMI Walks Greater Houston. More at namiwalks.org/Greater Houston.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manouse and guest host Shelley Wade.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and today we're highlighting the important work that's being done to support students and families across the Houston area. Communities and Schools of Houston is expanding access to school-based mental health services by helping young people navigate challenges like stress, anxiety, trauma, and bullying. Joining us today is Shubhra Endley, Director of Mental Health and Wellness at Communities and Schools in Houston, to talk about the organization's mental health initiative and the growing need for student mental health support in our community. Shubhra, welcome to Hello Houston. And by the way, guys, if you would like to join the conversation as we're talking, don't forget to call or text us 713-440-8870. Shubhra, welcome.
Thank you for having me today.
Shubhra, before we get into the whole conversation, help set the stage for what we currently have in schools. How is mental health services provided in our schools currently, and where are you folks hoping to grow this?
Sure. So most school districts that we serve do have school-based counseling teams. They have district counseling teams. And where we come in is for 47 years, we've been providing student support services on various campuses and 5 different school districts this year, but we started in Houston Independent School District. Mm-hmm. And so because the need is so vast and the types of situations that our students encounter and some of the barriers that they face, it's multifaceted. And so like having one counselor on a campus trying to address all of those needs is not always a sustainable model. And so that's where Communities and Schools of Houston comes in. And what we do is we embed a full-time student support specialist on each of the 147 campuses that we're serving this school year.
So, of course, as we just said, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So you guys have your mental health initiative. Can you please tell us more about that?
Yes. So our mental health initiative consists of 3 components. We really started it and launched it 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We always had licensed mental health professionals, like kind of sporadically spread out during those 47 years. But 15 years ago, we became more targeted in our mental health initiative. And so outside of our own licensed mental health professional, that could be the full-time student support specialist on the campus, we also partner with different organizations such as DePelchin Children's Center, Family Houston, Nick Finnegan Counseling, Counsel on Recovery, Bo's Place, and we bring their staff clinicians onto the campus and coordinate the services on behalf of our students and families. And then the third piece is our mobile mental health team, and that's 5 licensed mental health specialists, and each of them cover one of our 5 school districts, and they have 8 schools that they're assigned to, and they stay consistent in providing and focusing just on that individual relationship with the students that are referred to them.
I feel like things are getting so much better with people accepting mental health or even having the courage to talk about their struggles publicly, because it used to be hidden a lot. And there's stigma attached to it in some communities where you can say, oh, I think I need help. And someone may go, oh, did you read the Bible or did you pray about it? And I always feel like, okay, yes, but God also blessed us with mental health professionals to help us. And so do you encounter much pushback, with this initiative in the schools?
Well, because we are invited onto a campus by the school administration, sometimes it's parents in a community that might say we need more support. We're very integrated into the school campus and the culture. And so that kind of helps with mitigating the stigma that might be involved talking to someone. For example, since our staff is on the campus every day, students see this one person, and sometimes it's possible that a student is referred to our program by a peer, just because it's not just mental health support that we're providing. It could be addressing food insecurity. It could be a junior in high school who's like, gosh, I have one more year and I want to figure out what kind of internship I need, because we have internship programs as well, communities and schools. And so nobody really knows why a student may be going into the communities and schools office on campus. And since we work with the entire student body, it could be a large school-wide activity where it's like Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have a table set up in the school cafeteria. It really reduces any kind of shame someone might be feeling if they're struggling with something, and it makes them feel less alone knowing that other students are also going and checking in with our student support specialist on campus.
This may seem like a dumb question, but they say there are no dumb questions, so I'll ask it anyway. The student body today, are they facing new and different challenges that have led to more mental health concerns, or have we been talking about it more so that people became more aware of it and therefore they're out there looking and seeking help, where before it was just pushed down and buried and ignored and just festered?
Yeah. I think there's a few things going on. There is more awareness because more people are talking about it. When you think of celebrities that come in and talk about it, tennis, athletes, musicians. So there is this less, more people talking about it. Then we had the pandemic in 2020, which brought out even more awareness about hey, sometimes everyone needs some kind of help or someone to talk to because the stress can be so heavy. And it's also just, so what our students are facing right now has definitely changed over the last few decades, especially with social media. It does create, there's pros and cons to social media. Sometimes our students may report they feel more connected to peers, but that can also come at a cost because maybe, for example, with bullying, it would be something that would happen physically on a school campus. But now that same bullying behavior or microaggressions or full-on aggression can happen outside of the school campus online. And it could still involve the students that go to school the next day together, but it goes beyond the school walls.
What about the anxiety and stress of school violence? And how have you seen an uptick in that?
The anxiety is one of the most pervasive issues that we're seeing with students each year. And it's not just teenagers. We're seeing it with children as young as fourth and fifth graders. And it can be different things, but with school violence, especially, we saw a peak actually after COVID, when the school shutdowns were happening, and then everybody was coming back to school, and maybe children forgot how to engage and be in large crowds, and so there might have been more on-campus school violence right when people came back to school. Right now, what we're seeing is maybe more community violence. And, maybe some kind of traumatic incident happened in an apartment complex, and now they have to still go back to school the next morning after a shooting in the apartment complex. And so having someone to talk to about that can help mitigate any PTSD, which is part of anxiety, manifesting and becoming such a deterrent or obstacle in their life where they stop coming to school. So that's why school-based programming really can help more even on the prevention side before something becomes so bad that they can't get out of bed.
Again, we're speaking with Shubhra Endley, the Director of Mental Health and Wellness at Communities and Schools of Houston. Shubhra, first of all, Ernie, I don't know if you feel this way, but just listening to Shubhra, I feel comforted because the way you speak is very comforting. Is that something you were trained for? Is that just natural?
It's probably a little bit of both. I come from a family where, we probably talk to each other in a more even-toned kind of way, and then I think it's just also training as well. Yeah.
Let me just jump on that comment too, is the fact that, and that's so important in talking with students, is giving them, and I think parents can take this too, that when faced with these difficult situations or dealing with concerns that your child may have, to come at it at a level position as opposed to getting angry at your child or upset or bothered by them bringing this to you. The calmness in how you present it probably is also a big component in how you can help toward resolving it.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're a parent and you are concerned about your child, it's very natural to have a range of emotions that can create sort of a barrier in how you can express that concern. And so if you have another adult in your child's life that can work with you and your child, that can really kind of help with the trajectory of where that concern is going to land and how it's going to land.
I can say this, Shubhra. When I was a student here at the University of Houston, I was just out of high school, so I was around 18 or 19 when this happened, but I went through my first major depression, and I was so depressed that I stopped coming to school and eventually dropped out. And so one of the things that I love about you guys being in the schools is that you make that connection, because I don't think many people think about the fact that if a kid is going through something like this, they may end up dropping out when they don't have the proper tools to work through what they're going through. Can you speak on that?
Yes, and I appreciate you sharing your personal story.
It was a tough time. It was a very tough time.
Yes. So 50 years ago, when our program started on a national level, because Communities and Schools is a national program, and we have multiple affiliates across the country, and originally it was a dropout prevention program. And what we were finding in our experience was that it's not one thing. It's not the food insecurity. It's not the housing insecurity. It's not just the trauma. It's a combination of things. I mean, as humans, we focus so much on our medical health, our physical health, but it's all connected. And so, yes, I mean, if we don't put in some efforts early on when something is first starting to manifest, or even before, for example, with trauma, quite often we have students referred to our support specialists on the campus, and it could be something that just recently took place. And when we think of those elementary students and maybe even pre-K, first grade, second grade, if we can work with them and give them the proper support early on, then it doesn't have to show up later on in their teen years or their transitional adulthood years, like in college, because we've built those coping skills up for them so that they can manage anything that might throw them off course because of the original trauma experience.
As we continue talking with Shubhra from the communities in the schools of Houston, if you'd like to join the conversation, feel free to give us a call at 713-440-8870. When we talk about depression, as we mentioned, I remember hearing somewhere along this path that once you've experienced a true bout with serious, even clinical depression, you are more prone to have multiple episodes of it throughout your life. Are there interventions early in that first experience of it, if they get into therapy, if they get into a position where someone hears and can help them with it, does that reduce the chances of it reoccurring?
It can definitely mitigate it from becoming so serious that someone might try to harm themselves. You know, if we can give students tools, give children the tools early on. And it takes maybe different kinds of interventions. It might not just be talk therapy. One of our partnerships is with Remind Houston, and Remind does support groups on our campuses with middle through high school students. And so if someone has been diagnosed with depression or anxiety, then it will be helpful for them to connect with peers that are also going through some of the similar emotions and navigating these mental health challenges. And then along with that, connecting people in general, because sometimes with depression, there's so much loneliness. Mm-hmm. And even if you're connected, like through the social media platforms and different things, there could still be an isolation. And so if we can work with the student on identifying some of the places where they can form more connections, maybe it's like a weekly group, and it's not even focused on a mental health issue. Maybe it's just focused on, hey, we're starting like a kickball group after school, so a couple of the students might want to get together and just play because it's like movement therapy, you know. So it's just really forming connections and extending their support network outside of just a clinician or a therapist as well.
And just as going back to what you said earlier, simply your presence on the campus helps to remove some of the stigma of looking for this help. It becomes, oh, they're here. It's good to have that resource.
Yeah. I wish that I would have had it when I went through that first depression, because you can learn tools.
Absolutely.
If you find yourself feeling, you know, that way again, you know, okay, I can do this to get out, so I'm not going even further down, you know, the rabbit hole.
Yeah. 713-440-8870. We've got a call online. If you pop on your headphones that are right in front of you, you'll be able to hear from Greg in Montrose. Greg, what's on your mind today?
Well, first off, bravo. I mean, you know, in the late 1970s when I was growing up, people didn't think about kids and depression. That wasn't a thing. You know, yes, I cried every day and skipped school for 2 years at 12, 13, and 14, but it never occurred to anyone that a kid could have depression. Mm-hmm. And I was very lucky to go to a high school, HSPVA, that was started to keep kids from dropping out. And I speak to a lot of schools and a lot of students, and one thing I think we need to emphasize to kids is if something bad is going on, no one is going to help you unless you tell someone, because nobody knows. And that's what these counseling programs give a chance to do, is say, hey, we're actually here to listen to you.
Mm-hmm. Greg, thank you for your comments. Shubhra, your reaction.
Yeah, Greg, you're absolutely correct. Like, giving our students a voice and awareness that there is someone on campus that they can reach out to and talk to, and that they're not alone is very important. And we do many school-wide events so that we're visible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I really would love to know some of you mentioned that sometimes a celeb or an athlete may come, a musician may come and speak with the kids. Can you give us some examples of those other than speaking, the different types of tools that you give kids to get through tough times?
So it's like there could be like for example, like if it's a clinician that's going onto the campus once a week, Maybe it is cognitive behavioral therapy, where they work through identifying the different emotions and how to form a coping skill to deal with that difficult emotion or feeling. It could be a weekly group where the same students are getting together, connecting, identifying some of the challenges that they face, just being a young person and talking through it, and main thing, learning that they're not alone on what their experiences are. And for some of those school-wide activities, it is just going back to creating and naming some of the the stigma itself, and saying, you know what, it could be a peer-led activity on a school-wide where it's our students that have set up tables, and it's our communities and schools student support specialists that's helping them create the event. Sometimes we have agency like mental health fairs, wellness fairs is what they call them, and that's where we have some of our partners like Beau's Place, which is for grief, and students can just walk table to table, getting the information, and just creating awareness that there are different sources of support out there.
One thing we talk a lot about in schools is first aid. You have a first aid kit, dealing with that. But you folks also talk about mental health first aid training. Talk about that.
Yes, all of our staff, even if they are not licensed mental health professionals, are trained on mental health first aid. And that's a national recognized program. And we actually have a couple of our staff that are trained in mental health first aid to train others. And what that does is it creates awareness of, it's kind of like, for example, like many years ago, before there was trauma-informed schools, if there was a student whose behavior was outwardly like acting out, getting in a lot of trouble in the principal's office, people would say, well, what's wrong with this kid? But now the approach in most districts is what's going on, what happened to you? And that's that trauma-informed lens. It's that mental health first aid lens, really understanding and connecting the behaviors with maybe some hurt or pain.
Yeah.
Were you going to?
I'll let you go.
Okay. So I just want to remind you guys, Shubhra Endley, she is the Director of Mental Health and Wellness at CIS of Houston. Now, I love that people can make donations towards this wonderful program. And do you know the website offhand, or you want me to give it out?
Our website is cishouston.org. So that's one way for people to get involved, either financially or if anyone's interested in volunteering in some of the different parts of our programming. Yes.
And I'll also give out cishouston.org/donate. That takes you directly to there.
You.
And all donations I will add made to CIS during Mental Health Awareness Month, which is going on right now in May, will go directly to support their mental health initiative.
What I wanted to jump in with is we're talking about a lot about mental health and wellness in that regard, but what about dependency? Do you folks also aid in that concern?
Yes. If it's a situation like regarding alcohol abuse, drug abuse, we have partnerships with the Council on Recovery and other programs, and so we can always connect the family and the student and with either the programming on campus, but if it's something where it might take, something a little bit more intensive, then we can connect them with those programs.
Do you look at this as something where you can stop these issues from happening, or is it more of looking at when these issues happen, how to deal with them?
We strongly believe in prevention as well, and so the more kind of pro-social activities that we can offer students, the more points of contact with healthy, safe adults, those kinds of things can build up, the resiliency in our students and our children.
So I just want to say once again how comforted I feel by just listening to you speak. So thanks for, not that Ernie didn't already comfort me, but but thank you for joining us and offering all of this information and for the wonderful things you guys are doing for our kiddos.
Thank you for having us.
Shubhra Endley is the Director of Mental Health and Wellness at Communities in Schools of Houston. Thank you for coming in and joining us today. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Love Bugs will have to wait for another day. Eurovision's going to be rescheduled tomorrow. Shelley, thank you so much for joining me today. Come
I have
back and
had
do
a
this again.
blast, a genuine blast. So thanks for having me. And next time I'm in town, I'll make sure I plan it where I'm coming to your Eurovision party.
Absolutely. And for all of you, thank you for listening, watching, joining, and sharing in the conversations. We'll be back tomorrow with more of Hello Houston. We'll see you then.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menhevar, Jen Altine, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Did you know your gift to Houston Public Media could go twice or even 3 times as far through your employer's matching gift program? Many companies will match the charitable